I mean, Stephen Kenny then was sacked, and then a teammate was made interim manager, and then subsequently became manager, and Jim McIntyre. So how was that as a player?
I think, you know, everybody knew Jim at that time. Jim was the most experienced player in the team. He was the only one with his UEFA licence. He had his B licence, and you know, Macca was, you know, he was very. Macca was a very opinionated guy when you played against him, and very, you know, honest. And I liked Jim. You know, playing against him, you always knew you were in for a game. And certainly as a player, you know, I know he struggled injury-wise with his Achilles heel when he first came, but he was a good player, and you could see that he had the coaching mentality in him. And you know, I remember his team talk when Stephen got fired. He said, "Look, I've just been appointed interim coach until, you know, further notice. I need you guys to get behind me." And he was putting a lot of the onus in the dressing room at that time as well to help him, because he was obviously, you know, naive, younger coach. But, you know, he done what he needed to do, and, you know, the club were, you know, probably a latter part of the first division at that time. He got us in the top half. And, you know, towards the end of that season, you know, a lot of people left. You know, I left, Scott Wilson left, and, you know, not that we got told to go, but I think at that point, you know, I had a year left in my contract, Scott Wilson had a year left in my contract, and it was the right time to go, you know. It benefited us and it benefited Dunfermline, and, you know, it was right. And Jim went on and he won the first division with Dunfermline, so it was the right choice. If we were there, winning the first division at that point, I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened, but, you know, there was a lot of pressures on us as well, you know, as experienced players, that, you know, we were the one earning more money, and, you know, that's just the way it was. And, you know, I'd done my time. You know, I went through a horrendous time in 2009 as well. My dad died in March, and you know, he struggled with cancer for the majority of that season. So, you know, I just decided enough was enough. I just need a change. You know, I had 3 kids at the time, and, you know, I'd had a few sniffs of America. Scott was away to Australia. There was a little bit there as well, and it was the right call at that point. And, you know,
and you're still there.
I'm still there.
I always remember speaking to you when you left Dunfermline, and you said that it was, you know, going to America was a big thing, and you were really looking forward to it, the new challenge.
Yeah.
So did you take on that challenge?
I did. You know, 2009 when I left, you know, it was very much, you know, I was really wanting an experience for Lorraine and the kids. And I think with my dad dying, I think that catapulted it. But when we spoke about it, you know, obviously I had the security, he'd been here for another year, but it just wasn't right, it never felt right. And we went out, I think it was after Ross County, up there. I done my knee. We had a semi-final to arrange against Falk at that time, didn't we? And I went out to North Carolina, had a look, and there was a Scottish guy that was a coach. And the area was, you know, I remember watching Desperate Housewives on TV, and I thought, holy moly, this area is amazing. And I thought, I fancy this. I really fancy it. Training facilities were like way over and beyond what I ever had. The stadium was good, although the standard was, you know, okay. And the US game was on the rise. And a little bit disappointed it wasn't MLS, but I knew where I was in my career. And I thought, I'll try it. And seen through the season with Dunfermline, had surgery on my knee, I left to go to America. And I played my first game, I can't remember who it was against a team in New York, Rochester. And I thought, this is actually a decent standard. The pace of the game was quite good, the weather up there wasn't so hot. And I went to Vancouver the next game when they were still NASL or USL. I remember going to pick a ball up from the sidelines, and this fan shouted to me, "Shields, you suck, man. Your mother's an idiot." And I went, all right. I'm saying to myself, I'm used to getting told, you, whatever you are, this is lame, you know. And it's just the way the game was, you know. The game's completely different in America, completely different, and the travel is crazy. You know, you fly to Vancouver midweek, you come back to North Carolina, you play at the weekend, and you fly away again for a midweek game. You know, you can imagine that here. It's just not right. The time change, the distance you travel. You know, sometimes you're travelling for 11 hours between flights. that's just the way it is. And it was a different experience, you know, one that I've enjoyed, you know, really enjoyed. So I played 2009, we got the playoff semi-final, I think we did. 2010, I think we got the playoff final, we lost to Minnesota. And, in Puerto Rico it was we lost to. And, you know, I had on my back. And that's the thing that ended me. I was playing a game in Minnesota and went for a tackle and, you know, went up there. Obviously had previous surgery in my back. And I was out for about a year and a half. Had a fusion in my back, you know, determined to come back and play, got really, really fit. And I think Colin Clark came in as head coach because Martin Rennie left to go to MLS with Vancouver. Colin Clark came in, who's ex-Northern Ireland international. Obviously I'd seen him on TV when I was younger, you know, followed his career a little bit, interested in English league at that point. And he asked me at the time to be he asked me to go through a tryout. And I said, what, a tryout? He says, yeah, we have open tryouts here. He said, I want you to go through a tryout. And I went, alright, I'll go, I'll prove that I'm fit. And I went, and it was like playing with, you know, a mitre multiplex and tryouts and guys that had massive bellies and beards and, you know, whatever. And it was just, what am I doing? But, you know, it was one of these things where I had to do it because if, you know, I was at crossroads in my career, am I coming home or I'm staying here or whatever. And Colin turned around and said, look, I want you to be the assistant coach here. And I says, well, what does that consist of? He says, well, it consists of running the summer camp programme. And I don't know if I started taking an interest in coaching in 2009 when I left there, and obviously a latter part here I was doing a little bit. So there I just, you know, it went from, you know, being assistant with the first team, and, you know, it was great, learning how to, you know, be a coach, and learning under him, and, you know, he's more, you know, abrasive type coach, and, you know, he's, you know, he let me do a lot of the training, you know, and, you know, the culture's different. You can't go on to American kids. American kids are completely different from what they are here. And the game's changed. You know, gone are the days where you can come in and ball your head off at players. You know, the game has changed. A lot of people a little bit, you know, take it personally. And there's always a way. So me, I learned from, you know, 7 or 8 different coaches, good and bad, and, you know, as we call them. And I had more of a job that, you know, a Jimmy Nicholl type. Not that I'm a Jimmy Nicholl guy, because I'm not funny as a guy. Well, Jimmy Nicholl in it is, but, you know, it was more of a pat your back as an assistant, and, you know, try and lift players, and, you know, see the game a little bit differently from my head coach sees it. But that's been me 5 years now. You know, I've you know, I have my UFIA license. I've got my USSA license. You know, I'd love to do my pro licenses, but travel wise it's just so tough. You know, so, you know, I'm fully educated. Love my job. You know, I still do the Railhawks. Railhawks are now rebranded. They're called North Carolina FC now. They're having a massive push for MLS. They're talking about going to MLS in the next 3 years. It's an exciting time, you know. They have the money apparently sitting waiting, but we just need the backing from the community. We have a core fan base of 4,500 fans. To go MLS you need 15,000 fans. You know, the infrastructure's right in downtown Raleigh to build a 24,000 all-seater stadium. It's exciting, you know, as Minnesota have done, as Montreal's done, as you know, Portland have done, and Vancouver have done in the last years from our league. It's certainly an exciting time, but, you know, I really enjoy coaching. It's what I do. You know, I have a U16 academy team who are part of the Railhawks. I travel up and down the East Coast with them. We have our 18s coach who's the academy director. You know, so for me to learn to do PowerPoints, you know, video analysis, Form 1 players, you know, I'm very much that, and, you know, and how we do it. You know, I would love, you know, I'd love to be a head coach. You know, that's the way it is, whether it's in America or whether it's here. You know, it's still, you know, that's what I want to do. I would never probably said that 10 years ago. But for a learning point of view, and, you know, coaching kids and seeing how kids progress into a college environment or a first team environment, you know, I can play a part in that. And certainly over there, the kids are very talented, very technical. Athleticism is a big part of the game. You know, but as they go to college at 18, you know, they get a little bit lost. You know, between 18 and 22, we get a lot of them back at 23 in our first team, and you know, it's just the college game that they don't play as much football as what they do when you go on full time at 16 here. That was my most developmental years, between 16 and 20, because you leave school, you're in full time with the club, you're learning, you're making mistakes, and over there it's different. They go to college, you know, they see the lights. Kids change, plus they get a degree in law, you know, and they do other stuff that pays more than what probably football pays there, and it's just, you know, it's different. It's a different, you know, upbringing for kids coming through. But to be part of an academy programme there is, you know, it's fantastic. And there's guys over there like Tommy Wilson who you bump into. We play Philadelphia Union sometimes. We just played Houston Dynamo last week with my 16s. Our 18s played FC Dallas. Last year we were in the playoffs. You know, every year we're in the playoffs because we have a really, really good academy team. And to learn that, you know, and how these boys grow, and you know how you coach them, it's very similar to coaching first team players. You know, very similar. And obviously we have the relationship with our first team to get them in and train, and that's certainly something I've learned, and something I think I do a good job at.
Stephen Glass went out there.
Stephen Glass.
And there was Richard Huxford
Yeah.
there as well.
It was Huxford that actually got me out, because he was at my wedding, and he was a fitness coach out there. He was acting as assistant, and he said, "Look, you want to come out and try it?" Obviously Martin Rennie was there, and I did. And Brian Irvin came out there as well. He was part of that coaching group at that point. But you know, Huxford's still there. He works for, you know, we work for a youth soccer club called Castle. There's 10,000 kids in that programme. It's crazy. And you know, he does a good job with the fitness side of it. And you know, Stephen Glass is there. He coaches within another boys club team within the area that's local. But kids football there is huge. It is huge. And there's so many kids, and I mean, girls football is ridiculous as well. You know, North Carolina FC have they're now going to get an NWSL team, you know, which is similar to the MLS Women's League, and women's football's it's grown massively. It's grown since in the 6 years I've been there. You know, as an experience wise, it's been a great experience. You know, it's 7 years now, as we said earlier, but it's, you know, our kids are getting older. My oldest is 16. I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. You know, if we stay there now, you know, with kids going to college, it's for life. I mean, I have my green card, but you know, I always really want to test myself in coaching, you know, professionally. That's what I want to do. But as you've been away for a long time, you get forgotten about a little bit. But you know, never say never. You know, and it's something that, you know, if it's in America or if it's here, you know.
Do they? They'll obviously play on grass over there, because here you, at one point, you had the artificial pitch, which you weren't a fan of.
I wasn't, you know, but then again, it had a huge advantage, the way we played and the way Jimmy was wanting to play at that time. We do play in tough AstroTurf there. A lot of the stadiums do, you know, Edmonton, because of weather in Edmonton. Teams in New York used to play in it, you know, the southern teams like Tampa, Puerto Rico, you know, Miami, Jacksonville, they're all grass. So Miami's actually AstroTurf. But you know, they do, and some of the pitches are very good, or some of them are poor. But it's just the way American sports is, you know. They can't, with the way the heat is, or with the way the weather is in the winter, or the latter part of the summer, they just can't do it. You know, there's Seattle. You know, Seattle's an AstroTurf stadium. You know, beautiful stadium, but you know, people just get on with it there. There's no any complaints. This is it, and this is what we do.
You were talking about coaching and what you've taken off all the coaches and managers that you've had. Is there anybody stands out for you as a manager out of all the ones?
I think everybody. You know, I always look at it and people ask me that and say, who's the best coach you've ever had? Well, I mean, I've had a lot of good coaches who I've learned off from, you know. And I say this to every player I coach, there's always somebody you learn off, good and bad. You know, whether you like it or not, take it upon yourself to, you know, use it, you know, or don't use it. And I look at guys from my youth career, you know, Alistair Stevenson, who was at Rangers at that time. Big part, you know, Paul Hamilton, and then I come through Billy Kirkwood, John McGregor, two completely different characters. We used to be terrified of John McGregor, but you know, he served his purpose, and he was right, and you know, that was just the way he was. And you know, a great coach. I had John Brown, you know, I was John Brown's boot boy. I used to crap myself every morning. I'd go in with these boots. Here you go, Bomber, here's your boots. And it was just the way he was, right? He'd speak at the side of his mouth, you know. But just a lot of coaches, you know, Archie and Walter, you know, great at that time with Rangers, but you know, they had the resources, having the best players in, and that's what I said when I came to Dunfermline. not that I had no clue positionally, but I played next to Richard Gough. You know, I played next to an Alan McLaren, a Gordon Petrick, you know, and it made my job easy. It made my job easy. Richard Gough would talk to me. He's been a big, you know, who I've still spoke to this day because he's in America as well. But, you know, coaching wise, then I leave there, come to Dick and Bert. So probably Dick and Bert mostly, because at Rangers I would have probably been a bit part player for another year. And maybe I would never have stayed, so I don't know what would have happened after that, so it was the right time to come to Dunfermline. And Dick and Bert, in terms of learning the game, you know, having faith in me and playing me, the amount of games they played me. I mean, there was plenty of games there where I was not good, you know, during the middle part of that. And maybe a 5 or 6 game spell, and they stuck by me, but they could have dropped me. So I was young, I was naive, but, you know, learning that part, I remember being out there, you know, on Thursday, Friday, Hamish French would go out and smack the ball in the goal. We would, you know, he'd do build-up play for the back, and I would hit Andy Smith a lot. That was a lot of their play, and I was never used to doing shape sessions, and it was new to me, you know. And I was young, I was, you know, very ambitious, and I was wanting to get better, you know, first and foremost. So they guys, you know, they must have loved it because I had that mentality. I always had a good attitude when I played anyway. You know, Alan Kirbyslake, Charlton, you know, never really knew who he was, but the guy was a really good player. But, you know, had a, you know, good and bad in my career. His assistants, good and bad. But it was a learning curve for me, a learning curve. I was very honest as a player as well. A lot of things I said I shouldn't have said, you know. But I'm still to this day really honest. I think that's the way it should be, especially when you're coaching kids and adults. You know, they've got to, you know, if they're doing wrong and right, you've got to tell them why not. You know, that's just the way it is in any walk of life. It's the only way you get progression. But I mean, Jim Jeffries was great. Was a great guy. You know, liked me as a player. Jimmy Calderwood. You know, even Leash, Davy Hay, Stephen Kenny. You know, I'd like, you know, every coach I had, you know, I would have probably said they enjoyed coaching me. So, you know, just because they knew what I was, I had a good attitude and, you know, wanted to play for them. And I wouldn't say anything negative towards any of them, you know. And I don't think there's the best. I don't think there's the best. Nah.
To sum up then, how would you look back on your career here at Dunfermline?
It's always hard when you come back to a club. And I said to you earlier that I thought it was the right move at the time. In the latter part, you know, during that time I probably could have went to Aberdeen the second time when I was here, and I turned that down. But I would say the first 2 seasons I was here I had a really good time. The first couple of seasons when I came back I had a good time, and for me after that it was kind of downhill, whether it was hampered by injury, being a more experienced player. The club was struggling at that time, and you know, I think overall I did reasonably well. Disappointed injury wise, performance wise at times. I was always really hard on myself. I was kind of serious as a player. When I look back now, I was always very much far too serious. I wasn't really a joker. I couldn't come on a Monday morning after being beaten and have a laugh and joke. It just wasn't me. It was Thursday before I got over it. And that's when I look at boys in the changing room at that time, and we had a lot of characters that kept the place going, you know. And I sometimes think that I maybe should have been like that, but that was just me. You know, that's what I grew up with and what I knew and where I wanted to go and how well we wanted to do, how well I wanted the team to do. But no, I mean, I made a lot of good friends in Dunfermline, I still have. You know, it's still the result that I look out for week to week. But overall, I had an enjoyable time. You know, I wouldn't say the latter part I had a great time. No, never. It was tough, but you know, I moved, made the club money, and you know, that's the way it goes, right? And you know.
And you played with a lot of good players. I would probably put you on the spot, but you probably wouldn't answer anyway. To say who would be the best player that you played with at Dunfermline. Because there's different types of players. As you say, you were talking about Harry Curran. Harry Curran was probably a player's player. Like
most
Gary
definite,
Mason.
most definite. I mean, I've been lucky, you know, really lucky. You know, I've played with some really good players, but some bad players as well. And I don't know. I mean, Craig Brewster was a good player. I mean, at the team when I first came, you know, was because I was young and wanted, you know, really wanted it. Not that I never when I was later, but you know, when you're younger, you're raw. And I had a point to prove coming into that team because I came from a bigger club. You know, Andy Smith was excellent. Andy Todd at that time was really good. You know, I think overall, I don't know. You know, it's a hard one. It's a really tough. You know, when you look at Crawford Brewster as forwards, and then you look at Barry Nicholson, you look at Scott Thompson and Gary Mason, you know, and
there's a lot of good
players. A Skerla, Todd, a Wilson, you know, Scott McCulloch, good player at that point when we first came in, you know, great good friend. Derek Stillian goals. I mean, we played a lot of good goalkeepers, Doris de Vries, but I wouldn't say, you know, there was a lot of players like Evo and, you know, Lee Bullen, fans' favourites that played in the same position I played. It was, you know, it was tough, you know, but a lot of good players. But I wouldn't say there was somebody when you look back at the, you know, the 60s. My dad used to always say to me, you know, best player in film I ever had in the 60s was Alex Smith. Alex Smith, great player, smoothest player he's ever seen, and you know, so that sticks out. And I hear other people saying other players, but you know, I was just fortunate. I played with a lot of players at Dunfermline. Played under a lot of good coaches. You know, some better than others, some that worked out for more than others as well. But I wouldn't say I had a best coach or a best player. You know, yeah.
Who was your most difficult opponent?
Yeah, I always felt younger when I played against Aberdeen. I always struggled against Stephen Glass. He had this hooky left foot, and he was similar ages to me, same age I think. And you always thought you had him, and he would hook this left foot and they'd score or whatever. And Neil McCann, I always struggled against Neil McCann. As a full back, you always struggle against pace. I never thought I was really quick. I always thought I was really fit, and I'd always wear people down. I had reasonable pace. I was smart, but when you play against somebody with real pace like a Neil McCann, I remember playing for Rangers reserves against a Neil McCann at Dundee, and his reserves, and I thought, oh my God, who is this guy? You know, at the time, the guy Brian McLaughlin that played with Celtic, wide left, struggled against him as well. You know, somebody jinky as well. It was tough. Obviously, you can go back and say Loudrup, you know, he was good against anybody. That was probably the most disappointing time when you go back to Ibrox and you lose 8-0. Marco Negri scores 5 goals. That type game, that was disappointing. Probably a Neil McCann type player. And, you know, when you go down south, you play against really good players. Obviously, I'd had the taste of playing at Rangers in the Champions League against Ajax at that point, and you know, other games. There was a wee kid that played with Auxerre called Fabrice Lepau, a really good player, very similar to McCann. You know, but these boys at that point, they were the same type of age as me. They were on the rise. You know, they were eager to do well. Down south, you know, a Harry Kuehl type player was very good. You know, at that point, the Leeds. You know, I was fortunate. You know, I was really fortunate to play in the games I played and the players I played against. And you know, a big part of that goes down to my time here. That was, you know, a crossroads when I came here. And Dick and Bert gave me the opportunity. If it wasn't for Dick and Bert, who would have said where my career would have ended up? You know, and you know, could I have been any better? I don't think so. I don't think so. I'd played and, you know, tried my hardest every time I played, and I don't think I could have got a better move than what I had. I really don't. I was lucky.
Well, Greg, all I can say is thank you for speaking to us, and your busy time here when you've got a short period on holiday from the States, so it's great to see you.
No problem.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
speaking to us. And you've got a bit of an American accent.